let's just talk about some of these Biden deceptions, because it's not just the claim about nobody told me that they didn't want to withdraw all the troops, which we now know is just completely untrue. But he was cross-examined, or the generals were cross-examined on a couple of other Biden statements today, including the statement, "We will stay until we get out all Americans." Well, that did not turn out to be true at all. He told Americans in mid-August that al-Qaeda was gone from Afghanistan, and both General Milley and General McKenzie, again, McKenzie is Frank McKenzie, General Frank McKenzie, head of Central Command, which oversees Afghanistan, said al-Qaeda was absolutely present in Afghanistan when President Biden said that. I mean, he just throws these things out there like, oh, al-Qaeda's gone? Oh, great. That's a significant lie. It's not true. And he said it so cavalierly. And then they were asked about Biden's claim that this operation was, quote, an extraordinary success. And the generals, all of them, did their diplomatic best not to outright call him a liar, but had to admit it was nothing of the sort. And so you tell me why we have a president who decides to lie on significant matter after significant matter, but that's not something he repeatedly gets called out on by the press for, like we saw with President Trump.
You know, all of those statements that you just read out align also with the phone conversation that's been widely reported that he had with the Afghan president, Ghani, where he basically told him, hey, why don't you make it sound better than it actually is on the ground in Afghanistan? Mm-hmm. Make it look like it's a better situation than it actually is. Why he is, as the President of the United States, our commander-in-chief, trying to paint this rosy picture that is not a reflection of the reality on the ground is beyond me, but is also just, I mean, it's irresponsible and counterproductive. To say that anything that happened with this withdrawal was an extraordinary success. I mean, a kid in grade school who watches the news, you know, in the evenings with mom and dad over dinner could tell you that that is absolutely not the case.
13 Marines are dead. Not to mention
Exactly.
The drone strike we dropped on a bunch of civilians, including 7 children. The nerve to come out and call it an extraordinary, the nerve, right? There's hyperbole, there's looking on the bright side, there's not creating panic when news is bad, and then there's just outright telling us not to believe our lying eyes. And it's outrageous because we're talking about American military personnel.
I don't think there are words enough to convey the feeling of betrayal and anger and heartbreak that my brothers and sisters in uniform feel. Those who deployed to Afghanistan, not once, not twice, but multiple times. Those who have been spending these last several weeks, sleepless nights, working day and night on their own, working their own contacts on their cell phones nonstop, doing their very, very best to try to get their Afghan partners out, to try to get American citizens out. They getting phone calls from people in the State Department saying, hey, buddy, can you help us get this person out? Getting phone calls from people high up in this administration saying, hey, can you give us a hand? Because we need your help, Sergeant so-and-so, to get somebody out of Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. Utter failure and a betrayal to the thousands who put their lives on the line in service to our country.
And now even General Milley, and it was interesting to see the generals kind of try to dance to protect Biden. I would say the only one who I didn't feel was doing that was General Frank McKenzie, who seemed to me like the straightest shooter. The other two seemed to be trying to thread the needle so they didn't say anything bad about Biden, which is not really their job. A couple of senators pointed out, it's not your job to run cover for President Biden. But in any event, General Milley made clear that American credibility around the world has been damaged by the way we left. I think that might even be an exact quote, American credibility around the world, that it's been damaged. And there's really no getting back from it. What do we do? How do we get that back? Start another war and then live up to the promises on not betraying anybody who helps us? I mean, once that ship has sailed, Tulsi, how do you recall it?
Well, you know, the very first thing that has to be done is being honest and being straightforward with the American people and with the world, and taking ownership and responsibility for the disaster that has and continues, that has been playing out and is continuing as we speak. That's the very first step towards being able to earn that kind of credibility, before being able to earn that kind of trust that our commander-in-chief needs to have from the American people and from our force.